Who is the NBA's MVP? That is the biggest question of the season that has been speculating around. When at the beginning of the year, we had a 3-horse race of Giannis, Jokic, and SGA. And it's now basically diluted itself down to Jokic or SGA. And today, I'm going to give you my answer to the question. So first, we got to look at the season of someone like Nikola Jokic, averaging a 30-point triple-double, right, leading one of the best offenses in basketball. And again, when you look at the on-off numbers, which I'll try and pop up on the screen here for you right now, this dude's been nothing short of generational on this run. However, you then got to take into account the quality of team, because you think, okay, well, if we go off the definition of the most valuable player, what does it look like when Jokic is on the court? What is this team? And MPJ and Jamal Murray, they're good players. Aaron Gordon's a good role player. You know, Russ has been a good complementary role guy. Christian Braun's developing, but he's still just a young guy who he's cool, but you're not going to go out of your way to go, oh my God, they have Christian Braun. Like, this is a difference maker right here, right? And it's a weird conversation with the MVP, because you have to have the conversation of whether or not you award a player basically for having a worse situation. And what I mean by that is, we've seen before, right, with someone like Russ back in 2017, or even Jokic in 2021, I believe, or 22, whichever year Jamal and MPJ were basically out for the entire year, right? And he was able to still will the team regardless of that. Now, do I think this team is as bad as those? No, absolutely not. However, I think when you look at the grand scope of the West, for them to still be a top 3 seed, Jokic is the biggest reason why. I mean, I think, again, the dude's averaging a 30-point triple-double damn near on ridiculous splits. Like, it's obscene. Like, this is one of, if not the greatest offensive season we may have ever seen. At least I've ever seen in my lifetime. Like, this is ridiculous. But you also do need to take into account, recently the Nuggets have been struggling, and Jokic has been good still, no doubt, but he also hasn't been Jokic in terms of just the efficiency. He had that game against the Lakers where he all of a sudden did it while he shoot, right? So now the Nuggets are kind of fluctuating. I think when you look at Jokic's impact, it's nothing short of incredible. And again, I think what this team does is largely because of him. Christian Braun, I don't think would look nearly as good if he didn't have a Jokic. For example, just look at KCP and Gary Harris after they left the Nuggets. And if you look at their numbers, you look at their splits, they're not even, or even a Bruce Brown, they're just not the same semblance of player without Jokic. Now, obviously, they're still good players. Like, these are NBA talents. Like, I do not want to be one of those guys on Twitter who will disrespect a former guy that played with a dude and just go, oh, well, he was a bum, you know, now that he's without. That's ridiculous. At the end of the day, those are still quality role players in the NBA. But it's undeniable that Nikola Jokic did make those guys look like they'd be even more. So again, when you look at the idea of the most valuable player, you have the two sort of branching paths. Is it that the literal value Nikola Jokic brings to a team like the Nuggets, right? Because without him, this would probably be a play into a lottery team. Would this team, right, like, is that value greater than the traditional idea of you are the best player on the best team? And mind you, right, the Thunder, in terms of the West, they're the 1 seed, and it's not necessarily close. I'm pretty sure the Lakers are like 8 or 9 games behind them, right? So again, it's just a question of whether or not you value which idea, right? So for example, with Jokic, I think there's a very strong case you can make. The statistical season he is having is absolutely ridiculous. They are a top 3 seed in a very tough conference, right? And Nikola Jokic is the reason for that, right? Aaron Gordon's missed a bunch of games, and you had a stretch where Russ missed a bunch of games. Jamal Murray was in and out, and PJ's missed. Like, basically everybody's missed games except for Jokic for the most part, aside from the birth of his child, I'm pretty sure, where he missed that like 3 to 4 game stretch. Otherwise, this dude is basically clocked in every game, right, and has given you historical numbers. It's actually ridiculous just how incredible Jokic has been. Now, when you look at the other candidate, Shai Gilgeous Alexander, I believe you have the more traditional argument. However, where I think people get a little nasty is they almost discredit the incredible season Shai is having, and they also underplay his value on and off the court. Now, obviously, do I think all those impact numbers are truly indicative of a player's value? Yes and no. I mean, there's all context to it, right? Like, if Michael Malone is sitting, Jokic because he's got 3 fouls, so DeAndre Jordan has to play way more minutes than he ever would normally, yeah, it's going to make his on-off numbers look way crazier because DeAndre Jordan is DeAndre Jordan at age like 40. But, right, at the same time, the same thing happens with SGA. If SGA gets in foul trouble or, if Mark Daigneault wants to run something a little bit different, Isaiah Joe goes in or something, well, yeah, those minutes are now not normal, if that makes sense. So then you're altering the numbers. Those impact numbers, I believe, as a community, we need to do better in terms of context finding / like actually paying attention to. Now, again, I think Nikola Jokic has an incredibly strong argument. And then we got to talk about the other candidate, Shai Gilgeous Alexander, who, again, is part of by far the best team in the West, right? And again, it's an extremely loaded conference. They already have 50 wins, right? They've got 21 games left. SGA is still having a historical season. And quite frankly, right, like, I want people to understand, right? So people sometimes will mention, like, oh, so if SGA gets it this year, why didn't Devin Booker win it back in 2022? When the Suns had like 62 wins, or they had like nearly 70 wins, right? By far the best team in the league record-wise. So why wasn't it not Devin Booker? Well, SGA's season relative to Devin Booker is not the same. SGA is having his own landmark of a season. And I think people also underestimate, right? Again, one of the biggest arguments with Jokic is his on-off. But I don't think people actually understand the on-off for SGA either. Like, the gap in what the Thunder are with or without SGA, it's pretty remarkable. You would think on paper, right? Like, oh, well, this team can't be that bad without him, right? Like, they've got a really good roster. Well, no, they've got a really good roster because they have a guy like SGA, right? And again, in the preseason, I predicted SGA was going to win the MVP. I sort of thought that the voters were going to be ready to anoint a young player. Now, again, is that me saying Jokic is not deserving of this award? You guys just heard me for 6 minutes tell you why I think Jokic could very damn well win and deserve to win the MVP. But if you ask me personally, I think it's Shai Gilgeous Alexander. Now, again, Jokic is having the better statistical season. To me, right? Like, I don't really think you can make that argument. He's averaging a 30-point triple-double. However, Shai's still giving you 32, 6, and 6 on ridiculous efficiency on the best team in that same conference as Jokic. And he also has incredible on-off value. So if I was a voter, right, and let's say voting for whatever reason started or ended today, and they said, okay, Emster No Soup, so you got to vote. Give us your top 3, right? To me, SGA is number 1. Jokic is the number 2. Now, to me, if you have either one, I'm not mad at it. However, I do not want to see some dude on Twitter or some lady on Twitter tell me, this was a robbery. This should have been Jokic's, or this was a robbery. SGA. Either way, one of those two names are more than deserving. Again, SGA is having a legitimately incredible season. And the other thing is, too, that I think is going to be huge for voters, SGA is getting hot. He just had a 51-point game, and when I'm recording this video, right, the day before, he's clicking. This team is clicking. I don't know how you wouldn't have SGA win it. Again, I understand the argument you can give me for why Jokic deserves it more, but I think Shai is encompassing the best of both worlds because he's on the best team and he's having one of the best statistical seasons in the league. So at that point, no longer can you just argue, well, the Jokic is on-off. Earlier in the video, I showed you guys the on-offs of both players. And again, they are both like really sustainably different. Like they are incredibly different with and without those players. So to me, the advanced analytics argument, like, yeah, it would probably favor Jokic, but I still think at the end of the day, like SGA has an extremely strong advanced statistical case. So to me, it's almost like not throw it out the window, but I don't think that should be one of the main arguments. To me, SGA is the MVP because, again, he's having one of the best statistical seasons in the league, and he's on the best team. And when you have those two things combined, it's hard for me as someone who I wish I had a vote. I wish I was working in the league. It's hard for me not to go with that guy. Right? And again, Jokic is having a remarkable season. There's no doubt about it. But I think at the end of the day, this is SGA's award to lose, quite frankly. I think they're going to go with it. I don't know what you guys think. Do you guys think this is Nikola Jokic's award? Does he deserve it? Do you guys think this is SGA's year, that this is finally, they're recognizing it and they should have done this last year, whatever you want to say? Let me know what you guys think down below. As always, this was MC Hoops. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate each and every one of you. Let's hit 2K subs. I love you all. Peace out.